Rudy Giuliani with America's Mayor Live, and that's a rendition of "The Eyes of Texas Are Upon You" at a Longhorn football game, because the eyes of Texas were upon the present president, the past president, and the future president, right? So I would say this was if I could have dreamed this contrast as a Trump supporter, I would have done anything to get it. You can't pick an issue on which the contrast is greater than immigration, migration, illegal immigration, and the border. You can't pick an issue on which one has been more successful than virtually any other president, particularly in the last year and a half of his presidency, because he was working at it from the beginning. That's pretty much undisputed. His last year are the best numbers any president ever had. Okay, you can say some other presidents did some good work on immigration. I'll even say he's one of the best on immigration. I'll tell you what's indisputable. Biden is the worst. It's not even close. It's like when my opponent, David Dinkins, got to 2,000 murders a year. Only mayor ever to do that. And he did it for 3 out of his 4 years. This guy got beyond 1 million coming in, then 2, then 3. Those are all records. He set the record for the most people coming in illegally the first year that he was president. He exceeded it the second, he exceeded it the third. By all indications, he'll do it again. So you have the problem in Texas, hiding at the lower end of Texas, just about ready to jump in the Gulf of Mexico, because he's right there, right on the, I mean, he could go, it looks like he was going with his wife for one of those beach things. You know, I think they probably had to restrain him with treats and things like that, so he didn't go off on the beach. I don't think he has the foggiest idea what the hell he's doing there. And he's down there. The place hasn't had an illegal immigrant in weeks, cleaned up by the guy he hates and vilifies, Governor Abbott, who he did not mention. And then his opponent for the presidency, Donald J. Trump, was in one of the 3 historically biggest and most dangerous border entries, Eagle Pass, again, under pretty good control right now, only because Governor Abbott put up wires opposed by the moron who was in Brownstone. Then his speech, I mean, if you took anything from that speech and took it seriously, you got to go back to school, because he's taken advantage of the fact that he really thinks we're stupid. Do you realize everything he said he did? The reason we're in the position we're in is because he took all of the Trump policies that were working, and within 3 or 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, dismantled them. How about a stay in Mexico, which took Trump a very long time to do? It was a very, very important program. They even have numbers on it. It brought down the number somewhere between 60 and 67%. Imagine if we could bring it down by 60 or 67% right now. Trump did that. But it also included the Mexican government cooperating with us, allowing us to send our people over on the other side of the border. So we were working with going after the cartels, which has to be done if you're going to change this. So that year we had 400,000 something, and this year we have 3.2 million. I can't run away from the numbers, jackass. You really can't. You tried, and now you're saying, I want legislation. I want bipartisan legislation. What the hell are you talking about? You have everything you need to do it. Because you see, if he did it by executive order and you reversed it by executive order, hey, dopey, the guy who was left back in the third grade, hey, jackass, you can just sign an executive order and reinstate it. I don't think you're going to talk anybody into staying in Mexico, because I don't think you could talk anybody into anything. But you could at least try. Maybe you can hire somebody to do it. Maybe Trump will do it for you. Why don't you sign it and send Trump there? See if he can get it for you. Trump might do it. Probably not. I don't know. We'd have to think about it. I'll go and do it. The guy was my client once. We'll talk about that sometime. I think. I don't know if he still likes me. We'll have to see. But he used to like me a lot. A lot of people used to like me a lot until I became a real patient.
The differences between Biden and Trump today?
Sure. So here are the things he reversed. Let me just get that on.
I'm sorry. I didn't know.
They in Mexico catch and detain. He went back to Obama's catch and release. Many immediate deportations where there's an irregularity, boom, out across the border. Nobody even knows about it. And the cooperation with the Mexican police, because of stay in Mexico across the border, help them deconstruct the cartels, get involved in the cartels. That means undercover work. And a bunch of other things. So, as I said, stay in Mexico alone is 60% of it. He did away with that all in the first 3 months. He had also done another thing that's outrageous. He had asked them to surge to the border many times during his campaign. They listened to him. They were there. And wacko, right away, we have record invasion of the United States. And I think his visit today is the most insulting, biggest lie of his administration. So, Doctor.
Yes, I apologize for that.
No apologies necessary.
I felt like when Biden came on the scene, it was like I call it shuck and jive. Like, hey, I'm Joe Biden. Hey, cool man. And he makes a few jokes.
He can't even move that much.
There was a couple of border agents, obviously was forced to be near him as he shook one border agent's hand. The other two kind of turned around and left. But I felt like he wasn't serious for a serious issue, whereas Trump seemed like a man on a mission. He was extremely serious, listened when border agents were talking. When he walked into this tent that had operations in it, showing all the cameras and where they were, the National Guard stood up at attention. There was respect both ways.
Palpable.
Very serious conversations. Yeah, it was a big
palpable.
difference.
Yeah. I'll ask this question and see if you can do it honestly, really. I mean, Whoopi Goldberg couldn't, but who cares about Whoopi Goldberg?
She's a traitor.
She's not a traitor. She's a jerk. They're all that View thing only convinces me that Biden may be right. We may have a lot of stupid people. But if your child was taken by the Mexican cartels, okay, and they said, send somebody down here to negotiate, send Biden or Trump? Who would you send?
Yeah, that's not even.
Wouldn't it be if you said Biden? Wouldn't they put you in jail for child abuse?
I was going to say, yeah, they'd call CPS on you.
I said, if your child was taken by the Mexican cartels, and the cartel said, we want you to send Biden or Trump down here to negotiate the release. Who would you?
Without a doubt, Trump. If I couldn't do it myself.
No, you can't do it yourself. He has to go.
With an M60?
Oh, Biden,
an M60.
Biden wouldn't remember the name of your kid.
Yeah.
Nor would he give a damn.
He would make a deal that would benefit the cartel.
May I be allowed to say this? Because, I think the man is evil. You want another indication of how evil he is? Don't run away from the fact that he's evil. My good friend Greg Kelly ran away from his being evil a little bit. That's okay. He hasn't called Laken Riley's family.
No,
I don't think he's mentioned her name.
no,
It's like she doesn't exist.
I tried to really look this up today. Karine Jean-Pierre mentioned her on Wednesday, and I think that was because of public pressure. And the White House put out a statement, but Joe Biden personally has not called, nor has he mentioned her name. And you know who did? Your buddy.
Of course he did.
President Trump
I don't
called.
even have to think about it. Why do you have this image of him as being the big bad guy?
Geez, isn't there stories
When
about
he is-
him paying for college for several?
I know that. I know the
boys?
stories. I know some of them.
Mhm.
I know some of the anonymous things that he did and the money that he gave for September 11. And I mean, it's
But
ridiculous.
Jennifer-
But George Steinbrenner,
Yeah, Jennifer Hudson's family was murdered. He paid for her.
things that just got to him. I mean, he has a heart and he has a soul. And look at his children compared to the dysfunctional Biden family. I mean, the Biden family's a mess. Unfortunately, they're running our country into a mess. I mean, if it's a mess, too bad. That's your mess. Fix it.
Yeah.
So he's in Brownsville. The other guy is in Eagle Pass, and the only reason that Biden is safe in Brownsville is because of Abbott, who's sitting there with the president.
With
And-
President Trump.
Yeah, yes, I'm a little confused with President. Oh God, Abbott wouldn't look at him. Geez, I got really excited about Abbott maybe being vice president.
I can say that.
I like that guy. You know, I think when they write the history of this, we've been working so hard for years
He's a hero.
to
He
get the
really is.
Democrats to break up this crazy Marxist open border thing. I think the guy who two people get the credit for it. Trump does in 2015, coming down the elevator and calling them animals. Now you say, oh, that was terrible, terrible, terrible. I thought at the time it was brilliant. I actually wrote an article and a paper defending him. I wrote the paper defending his being able to keep out people from Muslim countries, because he wasn't keeping out people from Muslim countries. He was keeping out people from countries that have a high incidence of terrorism,
Right.
including non-Muslim countries like China, where we ask only 4
China.
questions now.
China.
They're coming in by the, oh my God. You know, if China isn't sending in every spy they have, they're not the enemy we thought.
Oh, Rudolph, I forgot to tell you today, breaking news. Chinese nationals, they love to come through my state or the state right next to me. They got caught coming through Maine today. And there's high suspicion they're spies.
What did Maine do? Have a parade for them?
Oh, they boarded.
That's another Democrat. That's another socialist shithole.
Yep.
In vain.
Come on.
Never been.
Why don't you become part of this country? Damn it.
Beautiful state. And there's
I don't care if they're, I care what they believe in, not what they look like.
It's not the whole state. This is why they split their.
It's true. It's true. It's true. We do get an election.
It's like New Hampshire, right? You only get 2 big cities. You got
Not as bad as Vermont.
And no, the whole state of Vermont is a socialist. Whereas Maine, you have Bangor and what's the other one? Portland, Maine.
Portland, yeah.
2 of the largest city, and they lean left. The rest is very conservative.
Oh, I've been to Portland. I like Portland. That's good
It's a
restaurants.
pretty state.
It has good restaurants.
Very
Yeah.
good state.
So here's another one that was like a shot right in the head. It's like I don't live in this world anymore. Basically, a traffic court judge from the most crooked city in America, all by herself, after the election board had ruled that the state has no authority to take Donald Trump off the ballot and cancel democracy, cancel your right to select him. A Cook County judge, which is like saying a Democrat crook, took him off. And she was a traffic court judge just 3 years ago when well, this gives you a great deal of knowledge of constitutional law. You can't imagine how often as a traffic court judge, you have to interpret the 14th Amendment, particularly sections 3 and 5. Comes up all the time. And she's sitting in her little chambers all by herself, this Democratic hack. decides he can't be on the ballot. And nobody she took him off the Republican primary. She's not a Republican. She's telling the Republicans that you can't vote for them. And how do they have the gall to say that they're fighting for democracy? They are completely Orwellian liars, Marxist liars. And unless you're dumb, you got to see it. We're fighting for democracy, and we got Trump off the ballot, and you can't vote for him. What? Don't the polls say that half of America want to vote for him? About, right? I think he's ahead right now. But even if he wasn't ahead, he's very close.
The radical left are full of doublespeak, right? You have the mayor of Athens, Georgia.
Where do they get these people?
Conference about the brutal murder of Miss Riley, and he's at the press conference about her, who was killed by an illegal alien, and he starts going off, number one, about Trump, and thank God there was people with common sense in the audience yelling at him, liar. And then he tries to say there's no correlation between the illegal alien.
Do you know what the idiot was trying to say? He was trying to say that Trump's nasty language about the illegal aliens caused this. In other words, the nasty language encouraged these people to come in.
Yeah.
I mean, from 7 years ago.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's cray-cray, and he should resign. But
he's a big damn Democrat liar.
Your great producer, Ted, is going to play that little clip.
It was not that long ago. You might remember the dynamic we were living in the late teens in this country, where you had the President of the United States speaking in the most vile terms about people who were foreign born. And you had that notion metastasizing in places like Charlottesville.
In
the main, I caution against conflating immigration and crime. The data demonstrates that the two are not connected.
Liar.
You know, it's unbelievable. He's got like the most dramatic explanation of the conflation of crime, migrants, the death of the kid. How about the one who was raped the other day?
Yeah, 14-year-old girl in Virginia.
And how about the ones that are never reported? Look, we wouldn't have found out about this if somebody didn't pick it up. They were describing this guy as an Athens guy. AP was trying to cover it up.
Yeah.
I hope you know that. It's very hard to get the statistics on the number of crimes committed by illegal migrants.
Right, because they
remember, New York and Athens, Georgia, have a law preventing you from reporting the person to ICE. So how do you find out about it? How do you know it's illegal? What?
It should be illegal.
It is illegal. It is. It is illegal. It is. It is illegal.
All right. You have a big Georgia audience here. Georgia people, did you know that? Sometimes we have to know what.
Yeah, your governor knows it, and that big jackass doesn't do a damn thing about it because you got to. Would you like you to know? You got conned by that guy big time, and his pal Rafsenberg. You're going to find out how badly conned you were by him. But look, he does nothing about this. You've got a DA who's a disgrace to Georgia, to America, to the legal profession, and you got a governor sitting there. What am I going to do? She might find out about me. And then you got now two of them. How about the sheriff? Tell them about the sheriff, Ted. And then we'll take a break. It's all
right.
It's got a little cough.
That's right. The Kent Clark County Sheriff ran in. Well, let's play the tape. This is the Athens,
sheriff. So
Athens Clark County
listening
Sheriff.
to the mayor, now we're listening to the chief law enforcement.
He's asked, will you cooperate with ICE if you're elected sheriff? Here's his response.
Okay, so it is not my intention when elected sheriff to cooperate with those detainers. I see it as the sheriff's responsibility, any law enforcement, to protect and serve the community. And that's everybody in the Athens Clark County community, because this is the office that I'm running for. We can't help with a culture of fear in the community and expect the citizens to respond and help us in situations, because the fact is that a lot of law enforcement is based around community support. Like I just said, building relationships is key. And if we're I guess, antagonizing people because they are undocumented, underdocumented, then they built that fear in them, and they're not likely to come to us, not only when we need their help, but when they need our help. So that's not something we'll be doing. We won't be doing any type of roundups. We won't be attributing to that culture of fear.
Okay, let's
Well, we
take
couldn't round
the
up him,
traitor
so-
off. And that guy belongs in jail. Now, how are they responsible for the death of beautiful Laken Riley? Number one, New York arrested him and never did anything about it, never turned him in, because New York has a law that does what he said, that prevents them from reporting. The mayor has now, after years of going along with it, the mayor has now come out against it. And the speaker of our city council has told him to go pound sand, because she really runs the city, because he's a wussy. Now, here's what the mayor can do. I'm a former mayor. I did the job better than anybody else.
Yes,
Sorry,
you did.
I did. Here's what I would do immediately. I just pick him up, turn him over. And what are they going to do? Prosecute me?
Of course not. You did the right
I'm
thing.
following federal law. And do you know preemption, right? Federal law preempts local law. So I also, when I became mayor, took an oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the United States, not just New York. And when they conflict, sorry, boys, federal law prevails. So you don't have any right to pass that damn thing. And I don't have time to go to court, because I don't need a judge to tell me that it's unconstitutional, because it is blatantly unconstitutional. Same thing is true in Athens, Georgia. Those people are left-wing communist Marxists because they have a university there that's probably, even in the South, the university is infiltrated by the Marxists. I mean, that's the reason. Well, we'll be right back, and we will talk about, well, I think we're going to talk a little about Dr. Phil and what he did to the dumbest show on television.
Celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
And we're back.
Well, here we are again. I thought, don't you want to see a pretty face?
Oh, my goodness.
This is leap year.
Yes, it's leap year, the 29th.
So somebody may propose to you.
Leap day on
Oh, is
leap
that-
year.
No, it's the other way around. I think women, is it leap year when women are supposed to propose to men?
That's funny. I haven't. Well,
Look that up.
yeah, we're not saying that. No, I have a past story. Needless to say, I said no.
At least give them a look at you. I mean, they're not going to do it blindly. Turn it around and let them see who they're proposing to.
Yeah, we'll put a picture up in a little bit, but I opened my mouth too soon.
Why don't we show you,
Needless to say,
in action?
Has a woman ever proposed to you, Mayor, as opposed to the other way around?
No,
Never.
never.
So funny. When I first began
Maybe jokingly.
with Rudy,
Jokingly.
see all the women throwing themselves at Rudy.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny to watch because
Yeah, they were all 79, 80, like my age now.
they'd be like, oh, just to meet you, so thrilled.
I don't feel well. Can you take care of me? I've been sick.
He's a great wingman. He's the best.
Did you know that I was sick recently?
You were on a date. Come on.
2 days. 2 days. I was sick. And you put around that rumor that I was on a date. But nobody proposed to me as a result. I think
He doesn't, he,
I think I'm right about leap year. But
Yes, it
let's now look at one of the better wipeouts. And can you put it on so we can hear it, Ted?
Dr.
This is Dr. Phil.
Yeah, okay, yes.
This is Dr. Phil letting the idiot.
bless you, Dr. Phil, though.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Smartphones came on and kids they stopped living their lives and started watching people live their lives. And so we saw the biggest spike and the highest levels of depression, anxiety, loneliness, and suicidality since records have ever been kept. And it's just continued on and on and on. And then COVID hits 10 years later, and the same agencies that knew that are the agencies that shut down the schools for 2 years. Who does that? Who takes away the support system for these children? Who takes them away and shuts it down? And by the way, when they shut it down, they stopped the mandated reporters from being able to see children that were being abused and sexually molested, and in fact sent them home and abandoned them to their abusers with no way to watch, and referrals dropped 50 to 60%. So
there was also a pandemic going on, and they were trying to save
kids' lives. Remember, we know a lot of folks who died during this, so it wasn't, people weren't laying around eating bond, but, well, you know what? We're lucky. Maybe we're lucky they didn't, because we kept them out of the places that they could be sick, because no one wanted to believe we had an issue.
Are you saying no school children died of COVID?
I'm saying it was the safest group. They were the less vulnerable group, and they suffered and will suffer more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID. And that's not an opinion, that's a fact.
Well, Phil?
You gotta
Shut up, moron.
You got an applause from that.
That's a doctor.
Yeah, God bless you, Dr. Phil. I
You hear the
think we'll
audience?
talk about something else, which I'll bring up in a minute. But that is so true.
Wow.
A lot of us who talked about how bad mandates were, which, by the way, we had scientific research to it. That wasn't new to us in the healthcare field, that lockdowns
First
are going
thing.
to have bad results. And we also knew scientifically that the safest group were youngsters.
Yeah.
They could get COVID and you might have a death, but they are the safest group. And I think the death rate was like 0.0001%. It was very low. That's why they should never get the mRNA. And I don't like to call it a vaccine because it is not the treatment, mRNA treatment. That should not be given to anybody under 60. But anyways.
Well, should people over 60 take it? They now want to once again revive it for people over 60. I would stay away from that damn thing completely.
From it
I
myself.
think it's going to jerk around with your genes.
For people over 60, you certainly are a free thinker or should be a free thinker at that age and not manipulated. So if you really believe it's going to help you, what I'm saying is you are at high risk of myocarditis, heart attack, stroke from the mRNA shot under 60. And especially in the young men's under 40.
Well, young men seem to be the highest
Look at all the athletes
group
dropping
with
it.
the heart
Yep.
the heart problem, right?
Yep.
And that came out very early, and they covered
Covered
an awful lot of criminal cover up here.
Yeah, that's
And
director Rachel Walensky. She should be in jail. Honest to God, she would get in front of a camera and literally lie to the American public.
Well,
besides Fauci and Francis
she's all about money.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't figured out that by now, that little Brooklyn creep. I mean, there are creeps that come even from Brooklyn. That little weasel rat was all about the money. I was taught very early on by excellent prosecutors and investigators, follow the money. In this case, it was billions. Same thing that has caused the global warming con job to make Al Gore a billionaire. We're just pawns, But yeah. He knew that these medicines worked. Fauci, he had actually written it before.
That hydroxychloroquine is what Rudy's talking about.
Yeah.
It's great antiviral properties. It doesn't cure a virus, but it shortens the length. So in the beginning, when people were really suffering, the best treatment was hydroxychloroquine,
Which stage?
vitamin D, and zinc and vitamin C as well. But that would shorten the duration of the virus.
4 friends, say 4 friends.
Yeah.
One who was compromised, seriously compromised. But luckily got it within 2 days. Had he gone a week, we wouldn't have him now. The other thing I want to point out is, they do it every day. These articles were all right near each other, within 2 pages. I mean, the Wall Street Journal can't just do one Trump hit job; they got to do 3.
What's wrong with the Wall Street
The
Journal?
winner in Michigan is RFK Jr.
Did he even spell
I thought Trump got 68% of the vote in Michigan. He won his 5th straight primary by double digits. He's the first competitive presidential candidate to do that ever, Republican or Democrat. And RFK Jr. won? What did he win?
a toaster? Ted,
RFK Jr. won.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm not going to read it.
We mentioned
I
his
refuse
name.
to. I
I don't think we mentioned his name.
refuse to read it. I refuse because it would be too stupid. Then we have the self-important geniuses who are on the editorial board, and one of them is Daniel Heminger. Republicans should enjoy the march to the nomination. It could be their high point because Trump is going to lose.
why should he lose?
Look.
Why should he lose?
You really think I'm going to read it? You think it's? I mean, I got too many important things to do, and I'm too intelligent to read. A pretend very important guy who goes to all the cocktail parties I wouldn't be dead at. I wouldn't go dead. I wouldn't go there if they're going to kill me.
It reminds us of 8 years ago, right? 2016.
And then
Remember they were writing stuff like
Paul, the architect, isn't that it? The architect, Karl Rove.
Yes, they do call him the architect of what?
Yeah, your guy left the
one. Yeah,
your guy left the White House dead. Dead. Hey, Carl, he left the White House dead.
Does he have friends in the Lincoln Project?
You're damn right he does. Yeah, well,
Don't.
don't bring that up. Karl Rove has Battle of the Weak Incumbents.
What? He's equating Trump to Biden.
No, well, it's.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not even worth
okay.
our time.
Nicholas Wade has put out a study that I think the doctor will enjoy. New documents bolster the theory that it's not only escaped from a laboratory, but was developed in one, meaning COVID. And there's a lot of, actually, this is very scientific. I must say, if you could read it and explain it to me, it would really be helpful, maybe tomorrow. Okay?
I will, but I can say briefly that I had a lot of education.
No, you know this backwards
about
and forwards.
terrorism, and especially with bioweapons. And it happens during the Bush administration. It was after 9/11. There was monies for hospital people to learn really about either chemical or biological warfare. So we know how to treat it. And we know there was at least at that time, now that's 20 years ago, there was 26 countries that were developing bioweapons. Now I knew emphatically that the Wuhan lab was doing gain of function. And how did I know it? The chief scientist published her work for many years before it was.
Is that she?
Yeah.
She?
Yep.
Madam Xi? Or
Yeah.
Xi
Zhengli.
Well,
So anyways, but I never knew if it was an accidental leak or a purposeful bioweapon. Our friend, a Chinese scientist who escaped from Hong Kong because she felt threatened, and she 100% believes it was made as a bioweapon and it was purposely released.
it's sounding a lot more like more and more evidence. Here, there are certain signatures that they found that say this. You wouldn't find these signatures if it developed in nature.
Oh, that's right. And do you know
What that means?
Yeah, it's in the imprint in the genocodes. But do you know people wrote that to Fauci early on and he hid that. He actually, there's email correspondence with him and other people saying, we got to bury this scientist. We got to discredit them.
Well,
That's the character of Dr. Fauci.
well, Fauci and his co-conspirator was Daszak, right?
Yeah. Health Alliance.
Who made hundreds of millions of dollars on this. How about this little note that they found from Daszak? There was a possibility of doing this in America or doing it in they could do it with Dr. Barrick, Mr. Barrick, who had a safer
University of North Carolina.
he had a safer laboratory, a BSL 3.
Yeah.
She only had a BSL 2 laboratory in Wuhan.
Well, it was
well known for its number
safety
one,
issues.
lack of safety
It was supposed to be a level 3.
and military connections.
Yeah.
This is a Days Act note they found. The BSL 2 nature of work on SARS makes our system highly cost effective relative to other bat virus systems. So Barrick writes back to him, U.S. researchers will likely freak out. He's basically saying we can save money, make a bigger profit if we do it in the unsafe place.
Yeah.
Think maybe he bears a responsibility for it?
Yeah. Ralph Barrick.
You think they all belong in jail?
He also went over, he started doing some in his different stuff in his lab at the University of North Carolina. But then he went over to China to work with Dr. Shi Zhengli. So he had his hands in it. He knew he was doing gain of function, which there's a moratorium in the United States on gain of function. But yeah, I could go on and on about this subject.
You know, Dr. Fauci, during his whole situation, gave all kinds of defenses of Red China that everybody missed except RWG here. And he guy's a communist, or he gets money from the communists. So is this guy. Now,
About his kickback royal payments.
but which he's never revealed.
He's never revealed.
I do not understand why you can't get those. I want to see what his royalties were in the last 4 or 5 years. You can't see them.
They're hiding it. They shouldn't get royalties, right? They're government employees.
They should get them, and if they
And
get
his
them, we should see
checks were
them.
huge. We were able to see from Open Books did a Request for Information Act, and
It went
so
back-
much was redacted. Who was giving him $1 million check?
Yeah,
Was
that
it
goes
Pfizer?
back. That
Was
goes
it
back.
Moderna? Yeah, this was all back. We couldn't even get current information.
I'm going to tell you, my senses tell me it's all about the money for Fauci.
Yeah,
He becomes a
an employee was worth like $10 million.
yeah, and killing people. Do we have the Berkeley clip?
What is that, Ruth?
So Berkeley had a demonstration the other day against Israel, but I want to point out that it quickly becomes an attack on Jews. This is anti-Semitism. This is not a political. This is a Nazism, or Nazism is a subspecies of anti-Semitism. The Nazis weren't the only anti-Semites. Stalin was as big a Jew killer as Hitler was. He just selectively killed them when he needed to. When he needed to work with them, he used them. But he could have killed as many. So,
Are you ready?
you ready? You got that? This is an American college in the 20.
Normal day as a Jewish student trying to go to one of our events.
All right.
They need Ronald Reagan back.
Our tax dollars go to all these universities.
That's a
We
state.
should stop the tax dollars right now. Stop it to that school.
But Newsom, not going to stop it. Newsom's a pussy. They need Ronald Reagan back. That reminds me of the Black Panthers. You know,
Oh yeah.
the father of Big Fanny.
Yeah. You know, all these really radical activists who were murderers, right? We grew up in the 60s and 70s, and they were very dangerous people. Bombings. There's a bombing in the Capitol, and Clinton let the lady out of jail, Rosenberg.
Yeah, I wonder if his communist training had something to do with that.
Was it Clinton or Obama?
No, both of them.
Both of them. But anyways, it does remind me of that. And the children of these activists, instead of going their own way and being a free thinker and kind of saying, okay, I'm not going to be like my dad, they're like following in those footsteps, like hate the whitey's against me. You have every potential as anybody else, Fanny. You don't have to go after whitey.
Well, the New York Republican Party is a disgrace. It nominated for the Senate with full knowledge very virulent anti-Trumper, massive anti-Trumper, not a guy who is a bit of a rhino or a middle of the road guy, but a guy who over the last couple of years donated 37 grand to Swazi, the Democratic candidate in that big race against Mazi, who may have lost it because she double-crossed Trump.
Well, you know, the Democrat, Mozzie.
Well, she now
the registered Democrat Mozzie that we chose as a party.
Well, she now registered as a Republican, and she regrets her comments.
Okay.
Okay.
So these same people chose who for the Senate?
They chose this ex-police officer named Michael Sapricone. Michael Sapricone, unknown to me in the police department, although he was there when I was the mayor. So I can't say he has a big reputation, although he did have some kind of pension issue, not a good one. He also donated, and this is the one that blows it off the charts. He donated to Letitia James in the middle of her saying that she was going to target Donald Trump.
She was all over television.
And
saying,
just so that it wasn't an accident, he also gave money to the state assemblyman who was the big sponsor of the no bail bill, which is considered to be the key to our increase in crime, and which Adams and Hochul can't get changed because the out of control Marxist left-wing legislature won't change it. And it has to do with the massive increase in murder. The guy should not be a Republican candidate. He's a fraud. It says something about the vetting ability of our party, Mazi Santos, this guy.
Who's the name of the chairperson?
Ed Cox is the chairperson. Ed, get him out. Get him the hell out.
Get him out.
No, there's no
something about your friend Pete King.
Yeah, Pete King is
this guy is a man of integrity. At first, he backed this guy, Mike.
Sapricone.
Sorry,
Nobody will know the name.
But anyways, he backed him, and when he found out he gave money, especially to Letitia James, he said you need to step down. And I think that's a man of integrity, because when you find out information you didn't know, you admit you did something wrong instead of doubling down, saying vote for this guy. We've had enough rhinos. We've had enough people with the R after their name, but they're really radical Democrats. I could have given him a pass, this guy Mike. Because sometimes you don't really know the character of somebody until they get into office, because they lie so much during their campaigns. But you can't say that about Letitia James. Her whole candidacy, she was on commercials saying, a vote for me is a vote for me getting Donald Trump. That was it. That it wasn't bringing down crime in New York. It wasn't the safety of women and children. It was none of that. Every darn commercial was, I'm going to use my office, use your taxpayer dollars just to get Donald Trump because I have Trump derangements.
Don't negate the contribution to the guy who passed no bail.
That's true.
Now I'm going to tell you why it was all over, because he lied about it. He then said, "Oh, I gave it to him before he voted." Well, he gave it to him 4 days after it passed. I mean, there are dates. This may be the problem. This may be the problem you had in the police department.
So
there are dates.
What's the alternative?
The alternative is the Republican Party committee can get together and throw him the hell out. Get a new candidate. There's a nominating committee.
And there's a candidate out there, right?
Chairman, I mean, it depends. Do we have a leader or do we have a, we'll have to see.
Eric Castronova is going for that.
Who's the other guy? John Eisen?
Josh
Eisen. So I mean, Kara is my candidate, but Josh has also been an ally of mine. So I have to be, I got to be fair. Either one of them is 100% better than this guy. And maybe Josh will support her, which is what I hope. But in any event, we got to get rid of him first.
Something weird happening in New York. Do you think like they're Republican. Like I never
Do I
knew this
think there's
before
corruption
that you
involved
get
with
to
this?
pick the candidate. I thought the people get to pick the candidate.
Oh man,
The end.
Maria, please.
Now when
You,
Andrew
you,
was
you're living in you're living in romance land. It's like I meant to do this with the judge. It's like this judge. This judge, nobody points out that she was a traffic court judge, which means the one who decided she can decide the whole election for 300 million Americans and take Trump off the ballot.
Oh yeah.
Well, she was elected. Like hell, she was elected. She had no.
The lady in Maine?
No.
Oh no.
I'm talking about that one wasn't even elected.
Yeah, I was gonna say
This one was elected, but she was elected like a communist gets elected, because Chicago, like New York, the Democratic Party is the mirror image of the Communist Party. She had no opposition. You don't have a democracy when you uniformly have no opposition to candidates. You have dictatorial one-party rule. Usually corruption comes with this. I would take a good look at how much money this guy, Spricky, whatever his name is, passed around for this nomination to the county chairman.
So wrong.
And Ed, we're supposed to be the party that's honest.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be the party that's responsible.
And having
My God, you
integrity.
don't select guys like Santos and this guy. And I know you weren't there for Santos, but you're there now. And it needs deterrence. And you know who caused this problem. And I know who caused this problem. So clean it up, damn it. Clean it up. So we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Want to come in, Ted?
Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnels to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now.
Nature. All right. Balance of Nature. That's www.balanceofnature.com.
While I'm sick, I've been taking extras. I think I have another one inside. It's empty right now. Now, where do you get them? Come on, Ted. While I'm doing this,
www.balanceofnature.com. Use the promo code Rudy, RUDY, for 35% off. Huge savings. And again, you're not only doing your body, your mind, maybe a loved one, a friend's a huge favor, but you're also supporting the mayor and everything he's doing here on America's Mayor Live. Balance of Nature, it's a Patriot-owned company, great people. They're very supportive of the mayor and everything we're doing here. So balanceofnature.com, be sure to use that promo code Rudy.
You know, Biden, the nitwit in the White House, keeps talking about, and his nitwit friend, Stinkin' Blinken, he says that, Ramadan, they should have a peace over Ramadan because it's a very holy holiday. If I recall correctly, with all the wars that we've had with the Islamic extremists, that's when they go crazy killing us during Ramadan. I can remember like massive slaughters by them, surprise attacks, killing American troops, killing the people they oppose. You better go check. You better go check your history, Stinkin' Blinken. But in any event, Bibi, who I think knows a little more about Islamic terrorists than you do, has told them something, and I respect this. The entire Israeli IDF has said to them, give us everybody back by Ramadan, or we're going to take out Rafah. That's a leader. Take out Rafah, damn it. Do it. Do it. It'll be good for us. It'll be good for the world. The more we eliminate Hamas, the safer the world will be. Second, they have said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to have a demonstration at the Temple Mount. Now, you know, every time they have a demonstration at the Temple Mount, we have tremendous violence because the Temple Mount is the place where the temple, the Jewish temple was located. That was the earliest use of it, I might add. It also is roughly the place where Golgotha was, where Jesus was crucified, and also encompasses the area where Jesus was buried. So it's very, very holy to Christians. And it's also the place where Muhammad was sleeping when the angel Gabriel came, picked him up, and took him to heaven. And he met everybody in heaven, including Noah and ultimately Moses, Jesus, and they all gave him a boy and said, you got the best religion now. And then he came back trying to convince the people that he had the best religion, that it was an improvement on Judaism, an improvement on Christianity, but a completion of it. Well, first the Arabs said, get the hell out of here, you perverted creep, because the guy had epilepsy. And it could be that they mistook the epilepsy for having evil spirits. And which is what they did. So they'd see him, and in those days, they didn't know what epilepsy was. But then it became a big problem. So it wasn't going to work with the Arabs. So then he went either to the Jews or the Christians, and he tried to sell them that he had an improvement on their religion. They told him to get lost. And finally, the third group, I think the Jews were the last to tell him to get lost, maybe the Christians. So he goes out into the gigantic sign of the desert, the Saudi Arabian desert. And he goes and he picks up the uneducated nomads. And he tells them this story about Gabriel taking him up to heaven and all this stuff. And ultimately, he develops an army. And Muhammad, the guy that loved Jews and Christians, now said, we got to kill him. So that's the real story. Come on. Cancel me. Screw you. That's the truth. That's the real story. And that is at the core of the difficulties we have in the world today, because that's what Iran is spreading. That's what Iran is feeding on. And our failure to deal with it is the reason why we're in this difficulty. The worst, of course, is Prince Obama. I don't know how much of it he buys. A very, very distinguished Israeli, balanced guy, told me he's convinced that Obama's on the other side. He sure acts like it when you give him cash. For me, that was an indictable offense, Ted.
Well, Mayor, why is it never discussed? Why are we not? The media never discusses Iran's role.
They never discussed Obama either,
or Obama, but Iran's role in how, when people talk about the suffering of the Palestinian people. Well, yeah, it's because Iran's using Hamas for their own interests, right? And Hamas obviously has its issues as well. But they pin it on somehow Israel and the West, and somehow it's America's fault, when it's Iran and it's Hamas, to the degree that the Palestinian people are innocent in this whole situation.
I don't understand. I've never understood the love affair with Iran, with
Obama and now Biden.
Yeah. Well, Obama, I get. Obama is either sympathetic with them because of his
middle name,
of his
Hussein.
Muslim, his Muslim back training, education. He was educated in a
Marxist type.
No, he was educated in a religious Muslim religious school.
Yeah.
At times he wrote down his religion as Muslim. I mean, and also as Christian. So he's been both. He has a great sympathy for Islam, which is fine. I mean, you would think he would understand the history better than I do, and understand the perils in the religion. The religion, the book has perils in it to modern world. If you're ignorant enough to cover those over, you're just going to keep this going. And all these fake intellectuals do that. It's really sad. Just read it sometime if you can get it. Well, they keep it in there.
Mayor, why won't Egypt? Let's talk about Egypt. Why won't Egypt take in the Palestinian people?
Because the Palestinians will kill them. And the Palestinians will immediately team up with the Muslim Brotherhood, as they did before, and try to take Sisi out and take it over. And the Jordanians won't take him in because they killed the king of Jordan's grandfather.
That's right.
And they attempted to kill his father. And they would take him out in a minute.
Egypt's putting
and
up
when you say the poor Palestinian people, take that out of your vocabulary. The Palestinian people are extremely dangerous because they've been trained to kill. They're trained. It's like an animal that went bad, who was brought up and trained to be a killer. And they're trained to kill you.
Yeah.
And they're trained to kill Jews. And there will be some who overcome that. But you got to be real careful.
I will go this far. They're trained to kill one another, to blame it on Israel by it's not just Hamas who uses Palestinians as shields. Other Palestinians use Palestinians.
They have no regard for the Palestinian poor.
Yeah.
I mean, the Hamas people are rich. It's really like a form of communism. All the communist leaders are rich. None of them are poor. So Hunter Biden lied his backside off.
Yeah.
I never discussed any of this with my father. You know how much evidence there is of Joe Biden's involvement with the foreigners with the crooked foreigners? Like, how about he had dinner twice with two organized crime oligarchs at Cave Milano's, and somehow mysteriously they never get sanctioned when he does sanctions.
Yeah.
So somebody must have kept a record of it. He can't remember.
Well, we've played multiple. We have, those that watch the show know over the past year and a half. When
he calls his son up
podcast
and he admits that he read the whole article about all the dealings in China.
Yeah.
So that I think
you're in the clear.
You're in the clear.
It's amazing. It does. It sounds like one of those recordings you used to do back in the 80s, or you'd get back in the 80s.
It's a complete admission that he knows his son's foreign dealings, and he is completely lying about it, as his son is, I gather, under oath. Yeah. And like that sleazeball, his lawyer.
Well, a grown man always includes his pops on his business during his business lunches, right?
Does he deny that?
Right.
Because he's
a grown man's always bringing him pop.
He's business.
Who doesn't call their daddy during some business?
Does he give any explanation for why anybody?
A grown man.
Does he give any explanation for anybody who want to pay his business $2 million a year?
No, I can't.
Here's another one. Here's another one that nobody's going to pick on but me. Okay. Let me make sure I got it right. Yes. So he testified. I am told he testified that he worked for Burisma because he wanted to help them defend against Russia.
Wow.
Sounds good, right?
Yeah, sounds.
Does anybody out there, I wish I had call-ins. Does anybody out there know what's wrong with that? There's something seriously wrong with it. I hope the committee knows it, because sometimes these people just don't have the discipline that I have. I'm sorry.
So this is Hunter speaking.
Yeah, why is that a problem?
So
it's a problem because Zlochevsky is a Russian-oriented. Zlochevsky, the guy who's their patron, the guy who's paying them, the guy who's paying them off, is afraid that his company is going to be taken from him because he was an ally of Putin's.
By the Ukrainian.
Yeah, he was on the Russian side. Yeah. So remember, before the 2014 revolution, there were two parties basically in Ukraine.
Yeah.
The pro-Russian Ukrainians and the pro-Ukrainian Ukrainians. And they were roughly, honestly, 50-50. The first election, the pro-Russian Ukrainians won, but the allegation was they cheated. Of course they did. They're allies of Biden. Of course they cheated. And but it was proven, I believe they had a second election, and the pro-Ukrainian Ukrainians won. And they held the office for 4 years. And then the pro-Russian Ukrainians won. Zlochevsky was brought into government under them because he had many, many associations with Moscow. And he built his business over a 3 or 4 year period by stealing oil and gas properties and giving it to his business as the Secretary of Ecology or Energy. So they weren't helping. They were helping Russia because the guy is an ally of Russia. And why he would have his son work with an ally of Russia tells you what bullshit this is. This whole thing that's going on right now. You're wondering, why does Biden want a stalemate? Because he's getting paid by both sides. Russia gave him $3.5 million, remember?
Yeah, that ugly woman.
Yeah, the ugly woman is the woman you should remember her. He had dinner with her.
Yeah.
Twice.
And she's like one of the only Russians not sanctioned, of the
Well,
all.
and the other guy that's where they get
Now I know it's true, though. Remember the guy who said he had tape recordings of Biden? Was it the head of Burisma?
He claims, the guy that they're trying to frame.
One.
Yeah, he does tape recordings. Like
it truly exists.
But they're saying that he lied about Biden. First of all, for 3 years, if that's true, they covered it up. For 3 years, they said he was their best informant, high-valued informant who they couldn't reveal. And if they revealed it, they would reveal methods and sources. And finally, they revealed that there were no methods, there were no sources. All there were him saying that Zlochevsky told him that he paid them, meaning Biden and now here's an interesting thing. He says, I paid the Bidens $5 million each. Now, he could mean Joe and Hunter. He doesn't say Joe and Hunter. So I paid the Bidens $5 million each. And now they say that that's not true. Except I think the tape recording exists. So how is it not true? Plus, there is evidence that Zlochevsky, within a month or so of that conversation, took $10 million out and started laundering it. Now you're going to get really fun through Zelensky's then boss, Kolomoisky. He laundered it through Kolomoisky's bank. So Zelensky would have all this through his best friend, the guy who made him a multimillionaire, the guy who made him president, and the guy who is probably more corrupt than Zlochevsky, but possibly not as brutal. But this whole idea that they were helping against the Russians, like hell they were. Zlochevsky was a Russian partisan. And that's who they worked for. That's who they took millions of dollars from.
And Kolomoisky's currently in Ukrainian jail, correct? Or so
they say he's in jail.
Yeah. Well, we're told, and this is recent.
For protection, I think.
Exactly.
I
to
think
protect him from international authorities.
That's not a real jail.
Yeah. Like Zelensky's putting him there to actually.
You might like that jail.
It might be like a spa.
Yeah. Remember, he couldn't come back to it. He couldn't
because he's wanted in America.
No.
He's wanted.
We're talking about, aren't we? We're talking about Kolomoisky, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Both those guys were both those guys, Kolomoisky and Zlochevsky, who you could get confused, were exiled, and they both were able to come back
under Zelensky.
Zlochevsky came back because he paid a bribe not just to Biden, he paid a bribe to the then president Poroshenko, which, if you go to my podcast number 9, you will find was several payments amounting to about, get ready, $100 million. Not unusual for Ukraine.
$100 million. So that's what it costs to be welcomed back to your homeland.
That's what it costs to keep a $40 billion company.
There
you could see those podcasts by going to RudyGiulianiCS.com. The CS stands for common sense.
And truth.
Those early ones. I mean, you went over to Ukraine, and this is information you were on top of now, what, 5 years ago, 2018, 2019?
I could have been put in prison. I could have prosecuted him and convicted him. I'm talking about the present crooked president of the United States, the demented one who was ambling around like, I don't know what, today in Texas. We could have done it before he was even nominated.
Well,
you don't even need all this extra evidence. I mean, it's great that we have it, but you don't need it.
What was he doing, spending all that time in Ukraine in the final days?
Making money
as vice president in 2016.
shoring up,
everywhere in the world you could go.
Shoring up, I'm going to guess at that. Shoring up his offshore accounts that we've never been able to get because the FBI will not interview the woman who says she can get them to it.
Yeah, the guy spent that alone should raise some red flags. And if everyone in the world,
everything
end of 2016, this guy is in Ukraine.
Everything raises red flags.
Yeah,
I mean, this is
a walking red flag.
This is the most amazing corruption situation in history.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And the FBI has completely disappeared,
gone
as a legitimate. There's nothing legitimate about it.
I mean, where's the media?
That's
where's
you can't.
Where's the investigative media?
There's no investigation.
What happened to the old school journalists?
They
used to take pride in this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, whether you agree or not.
They're doing things like a vicious criminal from Venezuela kills a girl, and they say he's from Athens.
Athens,
because they don't want, all that does is kind of go back to their original attack on Trump. It's sort of like really important to them, isn't it? Their original attack on Trump was he was so terrible for calling those people animals.
Oh yeah, that's not interesting.
That's the original. I mean, up until then, remember, up until then, Trump was sort of okay,
fun guy, Mr. Trump,
number one on television.
Yeah, everyone loved him. Rap songs were about Trump. Everyone wanted to be.
You remember the outrage at that?
Yeah,
he's a.
But it took him a day.
He's a racist. He's a xenophobe. He's words I don't even know the meaning.
Yeah, xenophobe. I learned that term. Xenophobe.
And then he said, "I'm going to put restrictions on people coming in from those countries." So
they're not.
They got into a lot of trouble, and they said they said that it was unconstitutional. He couldn't do it. And he called me up. That's how I got involved in the campaign. He said, "Can you help me with this?" And I said, "Sure, you can. There's a way you can do it. You don't want to exclude them because they're Muslim. Absolutely not. You want to exclude them because their countries have very heavy ties to."
Which was identified by Obama.
So why don't we take a look at the countries that are on the list?
That was a dumb.
And you're not going to keep them out, but you're going to vet them a lot more carefully.
Yeah, extreme vetting, we called it.
Okay. They stopped doing that the day he went into office. So when the other crook, Ray, says, we now have more terrorists here than ever before, he knows why. Because Biden stopped vetting them. And he said nothing about it as your country deteriorated. Because he's a really bad guy.
That is incredible. And that's hard to believe. That was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
2015 is when he announced. Yeah. So that's wow. That was a long time.
We didn't get a chance to talk about this. Is the first night we haven't played our favorite Fanny. I took the money from my campaign because I'm a big
cash. I left a little bit.
The reason I play that actually because I'm amazed that nobody follows up on it. I am amazed.
You can play it on the way out.
What is there an attorney general in Georgia? Such a thing as an attorney general?
Is there a governor down there? Where's the governor?
Oh, the governor is useless.
Yeah, but he's a media darling. He could really come out and say
the governor is useless.
Has he endorsed Trump?
The governor is useless. Can I say it again? The governor is useless. And he's worse than useless, but I can't describe it right now. In any event, forget the governor. He's not going to help anything having to do with fairness or justice. And if you do too much of an investigation, he's going to start getting worried. So let's see what happens tomorrow. They'll be back from Texas. Next week, by the way, is Super Tuesday.
That's right.
State of the Union, I think.
State of the Union is coming up, not too far away. Right? That should be interesting. Over under. I mean, look, last year he went 72 minutes. Something like 70. It was the longest.
The end was quite a challenge.
It was quite a, but look, it'll be interesting to see how long they can have him out there for. A year is a long time, but if you ask the White House doctor, the man remains active and robust.
Dr. Maria, what's wrong with this?
Healthy, active, and robust.
There's not a single person that sees him that would say he's healthy and robust. Robust?
The doctor is covering up and being PC, right?
No, he's not. He's been a crook.
Yeah, he feels, I'm sure, he's the president's doctor. He doesn't have to say everything to the American public. But when everybody went after Trump and Trump took a cognitive test, and believe me, Trump's doctor was pressured to release so much information, and we get nothing about Biden. We don't even know his blood pressure.
And there's no reason to even think that Trump is cognitively impaired. There's no reason to even think it. All you got to do is go to one of his rallies for an hour and a half or 2 hours. Oh, they say, well, he gets words mixed up. Of course he does, like everybody else. But he doesn't talk to dead people. He doesn't talk to dead people. He doesn't think he saw dead people, 5-6 years after they were dead. He doesn't fall down going upstairs. He doesn't leave the stage and it's a half hour before he knows where he's going.
That's right. But that's why watch for Democrats now, and some Republicans will take the bait. They're going to start talking more about age because they're going to start realizing, well, we can't ignore it completely.
And if you looked at them,
if you're going to start age, because
if you looked at the two of them today, even on that score, one looks a lot younger than he is, and the other guy looks like he's walking death.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, age is a good thing. We should celebrate age. We should celebrate wisdom. People that have experienced.
But me,
well, the perfect example, right? It's not about age. If anything, age is a pro. Age means wisdom. Age means experience.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And the rest.
Yeah.
The rest. I don't know the rest. I'm not sure I know the rest.
So the Democrats are going to continue to make this about age, and some Republicans will take the bait because they're not going to be able to. They can't ignore it completely, and they can't win on the mental acuity argument. So they're going to try and make it about age. Equate, make it. So they can somehow level the playing field when it comes to the criticisms and the attacks.
Okay. Thank you, Ted. And thank you, Dr. Maria. You really helped me out tonight. And you helped me out the other night when I was really sick, and you ran the whole show. You did a great job. And we'll be back tomorrow night.
That's right.
And at 3, I'll be on WABCRadio.com. And 8 o'clock we'll be here. And we're going to do a couple of specials. So go to what do you call that? Subscribe on X. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for having me.
God bless America.
And God bless America. And I'm playing.
Whole life. When I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell you, I just have cash in my house. I don't have as much today.
Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able